Good morning. I'll start with a chant. Om Tadekam Smaramas Tadekam Hajamaha Tadekam Jagat Sakshi Rupam Namamaha Sadekam Nidhanam Niralam Amisham Bhavam Bodhipotam Sharanyam Vrajamaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. On that alone do we meditate, that alone do we worship, to that alone, the witness of the universe, do we bow, to that one who is our sole eternal support, the self-existent Lord, the raft to safety across the ocean of this world, do we come for refuge. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, good morning again. I think some of you know me, and maybe many of you don't know me. I'm Swami Mahayogananda. I stay at our Hollywood monastery, and it seems the last time I spoke here was 18 months ago. A boy wrote me this yesterday, it was 18 months. So it's a pleasure to be back here and to meet some new friends and see some old friends. And the topic today is being here now. I should just give a nod to Ram Dass, the well-known teacher whose seminal book, Be Here Now, was a groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting event when it came out in 1969 or 71 or something like that. And it's still widely read. But the message of his book and the message we have today is the eternal message, actually, that, of course, it is here and it is now. And it is always here now. It can't be anything else. And yet this is the tragedy, the paradox, the tragedy, the blunder that we all make, that most of the time, neither are we here, nor are we in the present. Mostly we are, most of the time, being there then. So, this is our condition. We find it very difficult to be in the present moment, to be here now. The tyranny of our thoughts, as it were, takes us out of the present moment, out of where we are, and draws us into either remembering the past or thinking about the future. And we think about what has happened before, what's going to happen, rather than being attentive to what's happening right now. We are preoccupied with what has already happened, which cannot be changed, and what may happen, which actually cannot be known, cannot be predicted with certainty. And we are ignoring the glory of this present moment, the glory of our own soul, which we intuit, which we dwell in this very moment, right here, right now. Yes. The glory of what is, right here and now, the splendor of our own consciousness, our own being, that infinite being which we are, which lies within us, which is us. So today I want to take up this topic, explore a little bit more how the infinite potential of the present moment is always available to us, and how we can dwell in it, how we can learn to rest in it, to really drive home this understanding that this moment is actually the only moment that there ever is. It's the eternal present. we'll start with a quote from Swami Vivekananda, a powerful quote. His analysis: all the past and all the future are here in the present. No one ever saw the past, he says. No one ever saw the past. Did any one of you see the past? He asks us. When you think you are knowing the past, you only imagine the past in the present moment. When we think about what happened yesterday, we're not suddenly transported to yesterday. We're still here now, only we're remembering it. Now we're thinking about then. Then he says, to see the future, you would have to bring it down to the present, which is the only reality. The rest is imagination. The present, this present, he goes on, this present is all that is. There is only the one. All is here right now. One moment in infinite time, he says, is quite and as complete and all-inclusive as every other moment. All that is and was and will be is here in the present. Let anybody try to imagine anything outside of it. He or she will not succeed. It's a brilliant analysis. Every one moment in infinite time is quite as complete and all-inclusive as any other moment. We constantly thinking, well, tomorrow will be better than today. And once I fix that leaky faucet in my bathroom, or once I do this, it will be better than it is right now. Once I get that promotion, it will be better than it is right now. But Swamiji points out, and I think we can at least intellectually understand it, it's not any different. Right now, right here, we stand on the glory of our own soul. Let's stand there. Awareness is always now of what is here. Our awareness is always in the present tense. But what happens? I become aware that I am thinking, and then I identify myself with that thinking. I get sucked into that thinking, and then I'm thinking of something that happened yesterday, and I'm imagining myself yesterday. Though I'm here now, I'm imagining yesterday that argument I had with my coworker yesterday on what I should have said, and all those things. And then I am not here now. And then I am thinking of what might happen tomorrow, or what I want to happen next year, and I become identified with that, and I start imagining how when that promotion comes, I'm going to be so happy, or when my boss chides me and I'm going to tell her what I really think of her and say, take this job and you know what. So then I'm not here now. All this thinking of past and future is happening right now, right here. It cannot be at any other time. It cannot be. It's only right here, right now. So it can be said that no other time exists. The past doesn't exist except in our memory, in our imagination. The future doesn't exist except in our projection. Only now exists. This moment exists alone. Why then do we spend so much time thinking of what doesn't exist? Why do we spend so much time thinking of what is utterly unreal, the past and the future? I was thinking about it. I imagine that the role of evolution has a part to play. We have evolved from a time when we had to avoid tigers and bears, and our brains evolved to protect our organism and propagate the organism. So we are evolved to seek food, to reproduce, and to avoid dangers. We learn from the past, tigers eat people. And we want to be constantly alert lest we see a tiger. We want to avoid the destruction of this organism, so we think about the future, we anticipate the future, and we want to reproduce, so we imagine how are we going to manage to do that, and all those things. So perhaps this preoccupation with the past and future can be traced to this. Vedanta has a term for this tendency of our minds, and two terms actually. It calls it raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha, we remember past experiences and want to repeat them. We become attached to them. We become attached to, we long for certain pleasant experiences, and that is called raga. And moreover, we fail to recognize that experience which happens, that pleasant experience, it's fleeting. It comes and it goes. And we become attached to it and want to repeat it, and that's called raga. And then dvesha, we have an unpleasant experience, and we don't like it. And we want to, at all costs, avoid such an experience in the future. That's called dvesha, aversion. Raga and dvesha. This pair of opposites, this pair of opposites in our mind, raga and dvesha, rules a lot of our waking conscious life. Longing for something pleasurable and seeking to avoid something unpleasant. We can call it like a memory loop. These memories that keep coming up of pleasant and unpleasant experiences, which keep us firmly in the past and the future. In fact, I found it interesting to learn that the scientists say that the same brain processes that we use to remember the past also help us plan for the future and imagine various future scenarios. It's the same brain process which remembers the past and imagines the future. Interesting. So Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita describes someone who has gone beyond this raga dvesha. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, the description Sri Krishna gives of the perfected souls, there are always prescriptions for we who are striving to attain perfection. They're suggestions for us to incorporate in our spiritual life, in our spiritual practice. And he says, I'll chant the Sanskrit. Ragadvesha vimukhtaistu vishayan indriyaischaran atma vasyair vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. He says, the self-controlled person moving among objects with the senses under restraint and free from raga and dvesha, free from attraction and aversion, attains to tranquility, prasadam, peace, attains to that peace when one can become free from this attraction and this aversion, because then we dwell in the present moment, which is the glorious awareness of our own infinitude. We rest then in the awareness of who we truly are. We're undisturbed by memories, undisturbed by projections, longings, and fears of what may come. Now, perhaps some of you are already thinking or want to object that that's ridiculous. I treasure my memories, especially the older we get, the more we treasure our memories. When we're young, we're full of thoughts about the future and excitement about what is going to come in our life and what we're going to attain in life. And the older we get, the more we start to rest on our laurels, as it were, and remember all the things that happened, all the good things. If we had a successful career, then we can remember all those things. Those memories bring me joy. Moreover, I do need to plan for the future. That anticipation also brings joy. To dwell in the present moment, well, that's like being a stone. The fact is that dwelling on the past and the future actually takes us away from true joy. Because true joy can only be experienced when? In the future? Can we experience joy in the future? Can we experience joy remembering the past? Maybe a little bit. But actually we are experiencing that joy remembering the past right here and right now. And our happy memories, dwelling on those happy memories, rehashing them, chewing them over and over, is a kind of attempt to make permanent that which is by its very nature impermanent. This world, our life, and everything in our lives is impermanent. It will come to an end. No matter how hard we try to hold on to it, it will slip through our fingers eventually, sooner or later. Where is the permanent then? Where is that which does not change? Where is that which will not elude our grasp? Only the awareness that I am. That pure awareness that I am does not change. If you think about it, think about your earliest memory. We were all about this, maybe a little bigger than this young one, because those memories mostly are lost at that age. But a little bit older than that, maybe we were this tall, and we have some memory, maybe with mom or dad or some relative, or with an animal, or in the park, or somewhere. We have a memory. We are completely different. Minds undeveloped, body undeveloped. But what's the same? I am. That was me then, right? That was still me. I am. Back then, I am. And right now, I am. I am. That's what remains. I am. I am that I am. So in this moment, we can cultivate the constant awareness of I am, of isness, of being, the right nowness of my own existence, right nowness of my own existence, my own consciousness. And we realize that it is in my own awareness, my own consciousness, that all experience unfolds. Everything that happens to us unfolds in me, that awareness that I am. That's the cultivation of the Sakshi Bhava, the witness consciousness, the witness attitude. Now, perhaps only the great illumined saints can rest always and ever and only in that state. But surely all of us have had a taste of it. First of all, I think because we wouldn't be coming here if we hadn't. But we get tastes of it. Where do these tastes come? Let's think about it. For some of us, perhaps seeing something extraordinarily beautiful, like perhaps in nature, a sunset touching the snow-capped mountains, the snow-capped peaks of a mountain range just touched by the setting sun, or a dark night in the desert with the sky filled with millions of points of light, the Milky Way shining in all its splendor. And what happens? Our thoughts fall away. Our mind stands stunned by the tremendous beauty, and we are fully present in the moment to the extraordinary beauty before us. And Swami Vivekananda would say, the beauty of an external, he would say, this beautiful scene should thank me, because it is I who give it its beauty. It is we who perceive the beauty. And in that beauty is a reflection of the infinite beauty that is our own soul, that is our own true self. A tree in spring covered with fragrant blossoms. That's how Brother Lawrence had his awakening. The mind becomes stilled, we become fully present in wonder and joy. Another way we might get a glimpse of this, hearing some soul-stirring music. We get absorbed. Perhaps it's a virtuoso who's playing a cello or a vina, and suddenly the perfection of that music stills our senses, stills our mind. We are fully drawn into the experience, and we are lifted into the now. I think even intense sense experiences like tasting a delicious food can give us at least a momentary glimpse of this. And I think that is why we seek out these strong sense experiences. I can remember in Washington, D.C., there was a wedding had been celebrated between, it was a cross-cultural wedding between a Swiss boy and a Bengali American girl, so Indian and Swiss. So the sweets they served for the wedding were a hybrid. They took a rasagolla, which is the quintessential Bengali sweet, and they coated it in Swiss chocolates with a strawberry on top, something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I have never tasted a sweet like that. And that we didn't go to the wedding, of course, but afterwards some sweets were brought to the monastery, and I had one, and one was enough. I didn't want two. It was so delicious that literally I can still remember now how delicious it was. And literally the mind stops and one rejoices in that intense experience. That's a glimpse of the now, of the present moment. The intensity of that experience fills our awareness and attenuates all our, we don't think about the future or remember the past. We are just in that present moment. And then William Blake reminds us so appropriately that one who clings to the breast a joy does the winged life destroy. But one who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. Meaning that experience of eating that chocolate-coated rasagolla it was joyous. But if I try to hold on to that, if I ate another one, if I bought a whole box of them, if I had them specially made at a sweet shop and had cases of them and brought them back to the monastery, and every hour I would have another one, would it work? No, I would just get fat. And I would get stomach troubles. So we can't hold on to that kind of a joy because it comes and it goes. But actually, it's just a pale reflection of the true joy which lies at the root of our being. We're getting a momentary glimpse, a momentary taste of our true being, which is joy itself, when our senses are completely stilled in such an experience. Vivekananda puts it this way: wherever there is any bliss, even though in the most sensual of things, there is a spark of that eternal bliss, which is the Lord himself. Thrill seekers, it's another one. Thrill seekers, people who love roller coasters or rock climbing, I think they're seeking the same, in the terror of hurtling down at 75 miles an hour on a tiny little train that you think might fall off this track at any moment, yet you know, of course, it's not going to fall off. In that terror, we have to be fully present. You're not thinking about what you're going to cook for supper when you're hurtling at 75 miles an hour down on a tiny little train. You're not. You're going to be right here, right now. So we are fully present in that terror. And rock climbing, when one wrong step could spell instant death. We are brought into intense focus right here, right now. But do we need that? Do we need to be thrill seekers? There are people like that. They go for one after the other. Evel Knievel, older people might remember him. He was always pulling off some stunt or other. He was going to jump a motorcycle over the Grand Canyon. Didn't work. He had a parachute, so he parachuted down. Do we need to always be chasing that? It's available to us right here, right now. There's a term called flow. Perhaps some of you have heard of it, coined by a Hungarian with a very long name, which might be difficult to pronounce, but I'm going to try. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And he calls flow a state of being in which people become so immersed in the joy of their work or activity that nothing else seems to matter. And apparently this state of flow is most often induced when people are engaged in intensely physical or intensely creative activities, like an athlete in a marathon or in an intense basketball game, or perhaps a musician performing a challenging piece of music, an artist immersed in her painting, a writer absorbed in writing, a surfer on her surfboard on the Pacific Ocean. I think this state of flow, this state of intense awareness, actually that's what we're talking about, cultivating that kind of state, that kind of awareness of the present moment, being here in the present moment, at every moment. Can we do it all the time? Do we need a sunset in order to do it? It is not an experience to chase after. The experience of being in the present moment, I'm calling it an experience. Actually, it's not an experience that we chase after, it's something which is our birthright, because it is our own true nature. We are always in the present moment. We are, of course, to cultivate it, to practice being in the present moment. And as we go on practicing, we start to taste more of the joy of this moment, being here now. It's wonderful. So we might ask, if this moment is all there ever is, and time is an illusion, then why do we experience the reality of time? Look at a photograph of yourself, of your body from 20 years ago, and take a snapshot now and set them side by side. The reality of time is undeniable, right? That photograph from 20 years, the hairs weren't gray yet. The jowls weren't sagging yet. So long as we are in time, so long as we are in it, so long as we are subject to time, it devours everything. Time devours everything. Every body, every mind, every world. Vivekananda has this uniquely powerful way of describing this. He says, time, the avenger of everything, comes, and nothing is left. He swallows up the saint and the sinner, the king and the peasant, the beautiful and the ugly. He leaves nothing. Everything is rushing towards that one goal, destruction. Our knowledge, our arts, our sciences, everything is rushing towards it. None can stem the tide, none can hold it back for a minute. We may try to forget it in the same way that persons in a plague-stricken city try to create oblivion by drinking, dancing, and other vain attempts, and so become paralyzed. So we are trying to forget, trying to create oblivion by all sorts of sense pleasures. And this is Maya. Maya, as Vivekananda would say, it's a statement of fact that time is destroying everything, and yet we are trying to hold on to all those things which time destroys, forgetting that we are the indestructible infinite self. We are the I am. Shankara puts it very beautifully in a verse of his hymn craving forgiveness of Lord Shiva. And let me chant this verse. Ayur pashyati nashyatam pratidinam yati kshayam yovanam pratyayanti gata punarna divasa kalo jagad bhakshakah lakshmi stoyataranga bhanga chapala vidyuchalam jivitam tasman mam sharanagatam sharanada tvam raksha raksha adhuna. Day by day does one come nearer to death. One's youth wears away. The day that is gone never returns. Almighty time devours everything. Fickle as ripples on water is the goddess of fortune. Life passes by like a flash of lightning. O Shiva, O giver of shelter to those that come to thee for refuge, protect me, who have taken refuge at thy feet. Arjuna, he in the Gita, he begs Sri Krishna for a vision of himself. He wants to see the Lord as he really is, and he begs him for it. And then Sri Krishna says, "All right, I grant you the true vision of me, the vision as the cosmic form, as the universal form. Vishvarupa Darshanam, he calls it, where he sees Sri Krishna as the all, as the infinite, as the all destroyer also. And he's terrified. He's stunned to see this destructive aspect. He sees thousands of warriors entering the gaping mouths of the Lord, their heads perhaps crushed to powder or stuck in the interstices between the teeth of the mighty jaws of destruction. And he prays in terror, "Tell me, who are you?" And Sri Krishna says, "I am the mighty world-destroying time. I am time, the all-destroyer. Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravriddha. I am Kalaha, time." We remember also Swami Vivekananda saying to Mother Kali, "Thou art time, the all-destroyer." So seeing this, seeing how time destroys everything, the devotee, the seeker of God, runs to the feet of the Lord and runs to take refuge in the Lord of time, saying, "O Shiva, O giver of shelter to those that come to thee for refuge, protect me, who have taken refuge at thy feet." I'd like to turn to reminiscence of Mr. Thomas Allen of San Francisco. He was a close student of Swami Vivekananda, and he used to announce Swami Vivekananda before he would lecture. He would give lectures, and Mr. Allen would introduce him from the platforms to the audience, and then he would sit down and listen to the talk. So the date was March 25, 1900. And Mr. Allen recalls, a lecture at Union Square Hall, Post Street, San Francisco, was advertised to begin at 3 p.m. But at 3 p.m., Swami was not there. We waited and wondered what to do, and concluded that we must just wait. Several times I went out onto the street to see if he was visible. At last, at about 3:30 p.m., I saw him slowly walking up. I went and met him and walked with him towards the hall. I said, "Swami, don't you know you're late? The audience has been waiting." Swami replied, "Mr. Allen, I am never late. I have all the time in the world. All time is mine." "Well, Swami," I said, "the audience may not feel the same as you do." But Swami just went on at his same leisurely pace. On the way, we had to pass a shoe shine stand. And when Swami saw that the shoe shiner was idle, he went up to him to have his shoes polished. I was silently fidgeting, thinking about the people who had come to hear the lecture, but my fidgeting did no good. At last, Swami got on the platform and was again introduced to the audience, which had more or less patiently waited for him. So this is, to me, it's a fascinating and, to me at least, highly amusing incident. Though, and some of you may not find it amusing, when I told this incident a few months ago in Hollywood, two devotees came to me and they were furious. They said, "Swamiji, how rude. He didn't respect the audience who was waiting for him. How rude." I think, let's see if we can address this. I mean, to me, it's hilarious. We find Vivekananda seemingly utterly indifferent to time. He's already half an hour late, and he stops to get his shoes shined. And then claiming, astoundingly, "I am never late. I have all the time in the world. All time is mine." What do we make of this? And Mr. Allen's fidgeting having not the least effect? American devotees were apparently often frustrated by this facet of Swami Vivekananda. He followed the IST, called Indian Standard Time, or Indian Stretchable Time, IST. Vivekananda was always in an exalted state of consciousness. He was always fully in the now. That's why he could never be late, because it's always now for him. And he struggled sometimes to bring his mind down to this transactional reality where we observe time and clocks and all that. When he arrived in Alameda in the April of 1900, he met Mr. Allen, who jovially said, "Well, Swami, I see you are in Alameda." And Swamiji gravely replied, "No, Mr. Allen, I am not in Alameda. Alameda is in me." So this is the state of mind of Swami Vivekananda in those days. That gives us a hint as to why he could be half an hour late for the lecture and be not the least bit concerned. By the by, I would be ready to wait not 30 minutes, not 3 hours, not 3 days. I would be ready to wait 30 years to see Swami Vivekananda in person. And I think many of us would feel the same way. As an aside, Mr. Allen also mentioned that he also introduced him at this lecture. And he says, "It was when I introduced him at that lecture that I felt like a pygmy and saw him as an immense giant." So there they were on the platform, and Mr. Allen was introducing him, and suddenly he felt like he's just this little pygmy standing next to this giant. And after this experience, he says, "I could not bring myself to stand beside him again, but I always thereafter made my introduction from the foot of the platform." So we get a little glimpse of what it means to be identified, not with the body, but with the self. To dwell in that identity, to dwell ever in the here and the now. The self, the Atman, our true reality, the basis of our being, is not in time or space. Rather, time and space are within that infinite consciousness that we are. Clearly, the man whom we think of as Swami Vivekananda was in Alameda and was also late for a lecture. But for Swamiji, it was not so. For Swamiji to be late, he must be subject to time. He must be in time. But he was identified with the self. He was identified with the I am, which is beyond time, in which all time arises. So he could say, "All time is mine." He wrote so touchingly to Sarah Bull when her father died, "Coming and going is all pure delusion. The soul never comes or goes. Where is the place to which it should go when all space is in the soul? When shall be the time for entering and departing when all time is in the soul?" But Swamiji also navigated this world of time and space with ineffable grace and skill, no doubt about it. I think he could do this precisely because He dwelt in the ever-present now. Precisely because of that. And he was loath to be hurried. You couldn't hurry him. If they were late for a train and they would say, Swamiji, we have to hurry, we'll miss the train, he would say, is there not another one? Once they went off, he and Mrs. Hansbrough took a train to a ferry to a train, and then they missed that train and had to go all the way back. What happened? They were a little late, so they just were running just a little late. And when they got to the last train that was going to take them to Camp Taylor, they arrived at the platform as the train started moving, and it started moving. And the conductor who was standing on the caboose said, I'll hold the train if you run. Maybe they were 50 yards, and he saw them. They said, I'll hold the train if you run. And Mrs. Hansbrough looked at Swamiji, and Swamiji said, I will not run. So they had to turn around and go all the way back. Or for him, what's the difference? He's in the ever-present now. You can't rush him. And yet, look at this. Here's another reminiscence, giving another slide of Vivekananda. This is Frank Rodehamel, another of his students. His personal appearance on my first interview, also in San Francisco, was a pleasurable shock from which I have never fully recovered. He had on a long gray dressing gown and was sitting cross-legged on a chair, smoking a pipe, his long hair falling in wild disarray over his features. This interview continued 15 minutes beyond the time set for a class on Raja Yoga to be held in the front room of the house. This was a house in San Francisco, and there were 2 rooms, and there was a hallway. So there would be it's kind of like this. The back room, of course, it would have been closed, and the front room, and a hallway on the side. And Swamiji's room, where he would have interviews, in the back room. In the front room was the classes, and there was a little hall on the side, and there was also a doorway through. So we were interrupted by the lady in charge of affairs, Mrs. Hansbrough, who rushed into the room and exclaimed, Why, Swami, you have forgotten all about the yoga class. It is 15 minutes past time now, and the room is full of people. The Swami arose hastily to his feet, exclaiming to me, Oh, excuse me, we will go now to the front room. I walked through the hall to the front room. He went through his bedroom, which was between the room we had been sitting in and the front room. Okay, so there's 3 rooms, the back room, bedroom, and the front room. So he went through his bedroom, which was between the room we had been sitting in and the front room. Before I was seated, he emerged from his room with his hair neatly combed and attired in his sannyasin robe. Not more than 1 minute had elapsed from the time he started from his room with disheveled hair and in lounging attire, till he came leisurely out into the front room, ready to lecture. Speed and precision of action were evidently at his command. So here we see another side of Vivekananda. When he felt it was appropriate to do so, he could move with tremendous speed and precision. And it's interesting to note that though Swamiji seemed so careless when he was here in America about coming to a lecture on time, for his brother monks and the monastery, he was extremely strict about sticking to the routine of doing things at the right time. He wrote to them, whenever you promise to do any work, you must do it exactly at the appointed time, or people lose their faith in you. And the monks were expected to attend study classes and meditation periods. A bell was rung in the morning. Everyone had to get up and go to the shrine. Anyone who overslept wouldn't get food that day. They would have to go beg their food in the village. So what is this? He was ready to come 45 minutes or an hour late to a lecture, but he's telling them all, do as I say, not as I do. Is that what's happening? No. The extremes often look alike. Swami Vivekananda's untimeliness stemmed from the fact that he dwelt in the consciousness beyond time. But if I am late, it is because I was careless, or I was lazy, or inefficient, or simply inconsiderate. Yes, the result is the same. We're both late for a lecture. But in Swami Vivekananda's case, it's because he is beyond time. He has gone beyond time. Whereas in my case, it's because I'm lazy and inconsiderate. It's the opposites looking alike, the extremes looking similar. Two people being late, but very different. It's the difference between sattva and tamas, this state of equilibrium, of purity, and the state of inertia. They both look like they're both late for the lecture, but for very, very different reasons. Well, let's turn to a few practical hints. How do we dwell in the present moment? How do we do it? Number one, we can try to avoid hurry. Why? If we're late, we have to hurry, right? Hurry suggests a harriedness, rushing haplessly and making mistakes along the way. Haste makes waste. We make mistakes when we hurry, with an uncontrolled mind, thinking of all the other things that need doing and not giving any attention to the task at hand. If we hurry, we're thinking about, oh, I have to get there, I have to get there, I have to get there. We're not here now. Hurry leads to worry. When we slow down, we can actually be more efficient. There was I saw a tip, how to type faster. We're all typing nowadays. How to type faster? By typing slower. Because we make lots of mistakes when we type too fast and we have to constantly hit that backspace button. To actually type faster, we should type slower, make fewer mistakes. And Swami Vivekananda himself could not be hurried, as I said. Secondly, so we avoid hurry. It means planning. It means, okay, I have to be at a certain place at 8 o'clock. Ordinarily, I leave at 7:45. But actually, I know it takes 20 minutes to get there and another 5 minutes to park. So that means I should leave at 25 minutes before, but then I'll give extra 5 minutes. I'll leave at 7:30. Then I don't need to hurry. I can enjoy the journey as much as the arrival. Second, do one thing at a time. It's a curse of today, which is called, what do they call it? Multitasking. The mind cannot do two things at once. Wait, Swami, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, we can do habits at the same time. We can talk and drive at the same time. We can, certain things that are done by rote, by habit, we do them unthinkingly, we can do at the same time. But to give our mind fully to two separate actions is not possible. We cannot hold a conversation with two people at the same time. This is my first experience. I was having a phone conversation. This was before actually phones, but people were chatting on their computers. I was talking with someone, and there were these funny pauses in our conversation. I'd say something, and then there'd be like a pause, and then he'd answer. And I thought I heard something in the background. I said, wait, what are you doing? And then he said, oh, I'm chatting with someone, means on the keyboard. So he's having a conversation with me and chatting with someone. So actually he's doing neither. He can't give his attention to me, nor to the other person who he's messaging, because he's trying to do two things at once. So when we do this, and of course the most dangerous is that to text and drive. Driving requires our full 100% attention. We are piloting a mass of several thousand pounds of steel and plastic and glass down the freeway, perhaps at 60 miles an hour or more. And we think we don't need to give our full attention. We have to give our full attention. When we do this, we miss our appointment with life. This is a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. You have an appointment with life, he says. I love this. You have an appointment with life. You should not miss it. Don't miss your appointment with life. The time and the space of your appointment is the here and the now. If you miss the present moment, if you miss the here and the now, you missed your appointment with life, which is very serious. Learning to come back to the present moment, to be fully present and alive, is the beginning of meditation. So the great Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, not too long ago he left the body. And his recipe, of course, from the Buddhist practice is mindful breathing. For him to bring ourselves to the present moment is to become mindful of one's breath. And as Vedantists, that we can use that. We can experiment with that. Bring our awareness back to our breathing. Or bring our awareness to our mantra, perhaps. Or to a prayer, a short prayer. Or simply to focus on what we are doing. Bring our mind back to the now. He suggests several kind of like mantras or affirmations. He'll say, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel it is a wonderful moment. Of course, there's another well-known teacher whose book, The Power of Now, is a bestseller. Eckhart Tolle, German man. It's a wonderful book. And let me just read a couple of quotes from him because that brings it all, it supports this whole idea. Nothing has happened in the past, he writes. It happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future. It will happen in the now. And he suggests that as soon as you honor the present moment, all unhappiness and struggle dissolve, and life begins to flow with joy and ease. When you act out the present moment awareness, whatever you do becomes imbued with a sense of quality, care, and love, even the most simple action. So that's two quotes from Eckhart Tolle. So in conclusion, we have talked about the relentless march of time, how most of us are bound by time, caught in the past and the future, and yet how there is a way out of this. And that is to be here now, learn to dwell in the present moment, which is the only moment that there is. We also have heard some amusing, even astonishing, yet deeply revealing stories about Swami Vivekananda. How in the midst of the hurry of modern life, he stopped the clock, as it were, resting ever in the timeless present. And how we are not to imitate him by being late for lectures, but to be inspired by him, to find the timeless, to touch the timeless, to know that we are the timeless. And we touched on a few practical suggestions like slowing down and training our mind, training our attention to do one thing at a time, to give up hurrying, and learning to be here now, taking the help of being mindful of our breath, or mindful of a prayer, or of our activity, or of our mantra. Learning to be here now in the luminous present moment, to stand where we have always been standing, but to do so consciously, in the presence of the divine, in the presence of the timeless, in the presence of the eternal. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. I know in San Diego sometimes you like to applaud after the talk, but I would request you not to do that. It's not our tradition in any of our other centers. So I would request you, if you appreciate the talk, I feel gratified. You don't have to show it with applause. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any Q&A today, or Swamiji, do you mind answering a few questions?
I can try.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Please pray for us. question is that in today's world, where everything is geared to the past and the future, even when you open a television, they won't let you stay in the present. Even if you're focusing on some program which is kind of putting you in the present for a moment, it again takes you into the future. It tells you about things that you're going to see, or it goes into the past. So how does one exist in that sort of world? And the second question I have is, how was Swamiji relating to his family after he became a monk? Were his sisters and all taken care of? And did his timeless behavior affect anybody in India? Thank you, Swamiji.
Well, you know, we who become, if we are become really serious about our spiritual practice, and we really start to strive, then we do find that, at least I have found in my life, and I've seen others people in their lives, they find that television starts to lose its attraction. And you know, once in a while there may be a good program that we want to see, something educational, or especially something inspirational or spiritually minded, some documentary on some great world religion or something like that. But that it doesn't become, it's no longer a regular thing. So if we're regularly just immersed in watching, most Americans watch several hours of television a day. It's difficult to remain in the present moment when we're watching several hours of television a day. So that's how I might address that. You know, it's a very inspiring story of the young Narendranath, the future Vivekananda, when his father died, plunging the family into poverty. And he was desperately looking for work, looking for some means of support for his family. And nothing was coming, nothing, everything. They were struggling so much, not enough food to eat. And finally he went to Sri Ramakrishna and asked him, you know, can you pray to, you must pray to Divine Mother for me. And he said, well, I do, but you don't accept her, so she doesn't grant my prayer. You go pray to Divine Mother. And so Sri Ramakrishna sent Narendranath to the Kali temple to pray to Divine Mother for the sustenance for his family. But you know what happened? Those of us who know the story, we know he went into the temple and he found not a stone image. He found the living Mother of the universe in all her glory present in the temple. And he bowed at her feet, with his head to the floor, and prayed, "Oh Mother, grant me love for you. What more could I want? Grant me wisdom, grant me renunciation. I don't want anything else." And he came back to Sri Ramakrishna in ecstasy. And Sri Ramakrishna asked him, "So, did you ask for money for your family?" And he was stunned. He had forgotten all about asking for money. When you come in the presence of a king, are you going to ask him to give you a cucumber? So like that. So Sri Ramakrishna sent him back a second time. Second time, he became overwhelmed with love. He completely forgot about the prayer that he was supposed to ask. He came back a second time. Sri Ramakrishna sent him a third time. Third time he remembered, but he felt so ashamed, he could not ask her. So he came back to Sri Ramakrishna. So we think, well, maybe they're just destined to be poor. Well, he finally extracted from Sri Ramakrishna himself a boon, that they would not suffer from the basic needs of life, simple food and clothing, dal bhat, and at least coarse dress, at least the minimum. They won't starve and they won't be naked. He received that boon, and that was fulfilled in various ways.
Thank you, Swamiji. The statement "I am" at one level, it could be construed as enlightened people must realize they're all one. I am eternal consciousness,
Yes.
the universe. At another basic level, it could be pure arrogance, because and how does one distinguish the two, and how do you avoid the pitfall of being purely arrogant and saying, I am.
Well, the arrogant part says, I am Swami Mahayogananda. Don't you know who I am? I am Swami Vivekananda. I am the one who has, whatever my name is, whatever your name is. I have so much money. How dare you mess with me? I am such a good person. How dare you mess with me? I'm going to get the cops on you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do this. That means that's not just I am. That is I am X or I am Y, and I will do this, and you must treat me that way. And Sri Ramakrishna called this the unripe ego, like a mango which is picked green, and it's very hard and very sour. And this is the how he characterized the unripe ego. He said we should ripen that ego. Put that mango in a paper sack, right? Put it on the windowsill in the sun, and it will gradually ripen in the sunlight of humility and devotion. We ripen that mango, we ripen that self, so that it becomes, I am a devotee. I am a humble servant of the Lord. That is a ripe ego. And the I am, it's not I am something else. It's simply I am existence itself. I exist. I am, I exist. That isness, that is me, that awareness. So it has to be cultivated as one who is a spiritual seeker, who has already attenuated, who has already ripened his or her ego to a certain extent, so that it doesn't immediately grab on and say, well, I am all powerful, don't you know me? And then before you know it, we're off to the races with the unripe ego. So that's what occurs to me as the reply to your question.
You have an online question? You have an online question? How can one practice living in the present moment when in fact we cannot live in anything but this now?
Well, it's a question, I think, of being aware of it. Yes, true, we are always only in the now, but where is our mind? Are we aware that we are in the now? It's a question of transforming our mind, purifying our mind, so that we are aware of it. If the one who is asking the question is always in a state of peace and joy, then I would say there's nothing more to do. You are in the present moment, always and ever. But if you're not, if we're suffering, if we're worried, if we're regretting the past and we're fearful of the future, then we're not living in the now. We're doing all those things in the now, no doubt, but we're not aware that we're doing it. We're not consciously aware that all that is right now, that this moment is the only moment that is, and that everything unfolds here. Yes, we can still plan for the future. We'll plan for the future in the now, and we chalk out a plan because perhaps we need some kind of a plan. If we want to go for a hike tomorrow, we have to plan. Well, I'll meet you at such and such a place, and we'll drive together over there, and then we'll park the car there, and we'll walk, and then it's done. And then you return to awareness of the now. And then when you're going on the hike, you're doing it in the now. You made the plan, and it turns out that the parking lot is closed. So you decide, okay, well, let's park somewhere else. In the now, you make a decision to change it. You don't have to worry, is the parking lot going to be open or not? Maybe the trail is closed. Okay, we'll find another trail in the moment. But that takes practice, not to worry about the future, not to go on rehashing the past. For most of us, it takes practice.